It is crazy to me that everybody, no matter who you are a different person to everybody that you know. Like, we have the idea in our heads, we understand that we're different to our parents than we are to our friends, than we are to our coworkers. But I mean, like, every single person. Just because of when we meet each other, how we meet each other, what we mean to each other and everything. I have a friend from growing up. His name is Squish. And Squish guy's name, because he's pretty accident prone. In fact, the way I met Squish was he was walking, and this kid was in the cafeteria, and he stepped on a pickle. And this kid flew. He stepped on the pickle like he stepped on a Hot Wheel. I didn't know pickles had that type of movement. The pickle didn't even disintegrate. He just stayed on it perfectly, like a roller skate, and couldn't stop himself like a Looney Tune. One leg in the air, one leg on the pickle, and couldn't seem to get off. And he was screaming the whole time. Ah! This man was Janelle Monáeing across the floor in a panic. And this kid slid into some trash cans hard. And so I run up, some other kids run up, and from then on he was known as Squish. And Squish is, some of his accidents aren't even his fault. Like, we had a classroom fish. It was floating in the tank, swimming around and everything. And, you know, it was a different person's turn to feed the fish every day. And whoever fed the fish last didn't close the slide in the top of the tank back. And so the fish popped out of the tank, landed on the floor, and was bouncing around a little bit. And Squish just happened to be walking by. And we all screamed. We were like, no! And he was like, what? Squish's number one accident that solidified his nickname and his understanding to us as a clumsy person actually happened on a field trip to Dallas. Yeah, so we were all hanging out, getting some food, because the field trip was like all planned out. We had a thick itinerary, and so we got to have lunch at this Italian place, and Squish got some spaghetti to go as well. And of course, throughout the course of us walking around, he trips and falls on his spaghetti. But he doesn't just trip and fall on the spaghetti. He manages. Normally when you fall on to-go plate, it stays where it is. This kid fell and somehow managed to get all of the spaghetti from his stomach to the top of his head covered in marinara sauce. It was like there was more marinara sauce on him than there was in the to-go plate. And unfortunately, it was a field trip to the book depository. So if you were passing by, all you saw was a kid covered in marinara and spaghetti on his head going, help! I remember when Squish got married. I remember when he had a kid, and I remember when his wife told him, and is wild, because when she told, I wish he had been doing a bit or something, just making a cute little joke for the two of them. But she said, we're pregnant. And without missing a beat, he went. Because now Squish has a kid, and this kid calls him Dad. That's wild to me. It's wild that the people that I grew up with are upgrowing people. That feels crazy. That genuinely feels unacceptable. That the people that I grew up with are making new people that don't know what they're like. Because I know these people. This kid calls Squish Dad. I'm like, oh, you don't, that's not Dad, that's Squish. No, you weren't around, but... And I'm thinking about it so much because I am older now than my parents were when they had me. And it sort of recontextualized every memory. Because every year that I get older and I'm just going about my life, I think about how they were the age that I am now, but with me. I'll have a bad day and think, oh, this is the worst, and not thinking about how they used to hang out with me, but not when I was like fun. They had to hang out with a version of me that couldn't read. So you're already having a bad day, and now somebody that can't read is making it worse. You picking them up from school, they sitting in the back all, and now you have to try to figure out what's wrong with somebody who can't read. Because they won't tell you, one, because they're a kid and they're being all secretive and everything, but also because they can't read, so they don't even know the words to describe what they're feeling. You gotta do charades to see what's wrong. That's tough. You know, like I think back how my mom, a lot of the moms of the kids that I went to school with, like when you're a parent, I can't imagine being a parent. I cannot imagine being a parent right now, being a kid right now. I feel like I barely did all right with what I had, you know what I mean, when I was growing up, because I have a lot of empathy for the people who are trying to like raise a good person, doing your best to just make a good person. And the way I look at it, the way I look at life lessons is a lot like lunch. Because, you know, as the parent, the person who has knowledge, the person who's trying to do what's best for your kid, you can make them the best lunch possible. And when I say the best lunch possible, I mean like actually everything that they need. There's vegetables, there's fruits, there's some protein in there. You go ahead, you got the fiber. Everybody forgets the fiber. You got to get your fiber. You don't want to be full of protein and no fiber. You just be sitting there stuck. You did everything. You got vitamins and minerals in there. You got things to keep them hydrated, give them energy, make sure the bones grow, make sure the brain's healthy. You did everything. And then you send them to school with that lunch. But then it's up to them. Once they're not around you, you don't know. You have no idea. You know, maybe they're going ahead and they're taking out like the one sweet thing in that lunch, and then they just dump out the rest. I went to school with a girl just like that. She loved lunch. Lunch was her favorite because she was a wheeler dealer. She was a broker at lunch. I've never seen anybody finesse like this before. She would start lunch with one snack pack. She would end it with 16 cookies. And we would all have been had and we didn't understand how. We all just sit here, no treats, because she had mixed us up so much. She was the only person I've ever seen in my entire life during lunch going ahead and selling cookie futures. She was over here like, you know I'm good for a snack pack every day, all right? So you give me the cookie now, I'll give you a snack pack tomorrow. Now, that snack pack, you're going to keep it for a little bit, but you know he's going to have M&Ms on Thursday. And she did this every day. Every day she finessed the entire class out of everything. And her parents made her a good lunch, but just, we're not really trying to hit that celery right now. Not when we got delicious brownies homemade. And after a while, it took some time, but after a while she showed up to school and she had this rash and she was always tired and stuff. And we found out later that her parents had to take her to, the doctor, and she had scurvy. In the modern age, it is damn near impossible to get scurvy because every day, even by accident, you slipping into vitamin C. You know how many treats you gotta be eating with nothing good to hit the scurvy? This little girl had scurvy, like a Caribbean pirate. Because her parents were doing their best for lunch. They prepared her as best as possible. They gave her everything good. But then, when you're around your friends, when you're alone, a parent can't know what's going to happen after that. Like, there's a show on Netflix called Adolescence. And I watched it. And I think it is a very well-made show. Out of all the critiques I've heard about the show, and there are plenty, I have not heard anyone say that the acting isn't phenomenal or that the camera work isn't incredibly interesting, But it's a tough watch, and it's heavy, and it brings up a lot of things I think are important to talk about because it's sparked all these conversations online. It's the most watched English-speaking show in Netflix's history, and there are people being like, oh, finally we're discussing the way that misogyny has creeped in online into every facet of society. And then there are other people being like, no, it's a moral panic. Like, these things are bad, but we're blowing it out of proportion. And so that discussion I do feel like is important. And only one person, this was one woman I was talking to that was like, it's my favorite show of all time. And I was like, ugh. Favorite all time ever? Did you watch the whole thing and that's your favorite thing you've ever watched? I'm not judging, I'm just saying that's a lot like being like, my favorite place to go is the dentist. It's like, all right, it's good that you went, but just you telling me that makes you feel good? You love that? You love somebody just playing in your mouth like that? Quizzing you while flossing you? That's your favorite thing? It's just as odd to me. Teach their own. But I do think it's really important that we have these conversations, and it started making me think about my own life. When I was little, I didn't even know what it would mean to have a girlfriend, really. And I only think I thought about girlfriends because adults would like pitch me on the cheek and be like, oh, you so cute, you must have a little girlfriend. You got a little girlfriend? I'd be like, nah. You're not around the rest of the time. I'm actually quite a lot. But there was someone who I used to eat lunch with for a little while there. And sometimes we'd eat lunch for the whole period of lunch, and sometimes she would just come over, to make sure we chatted before lunch was over. And we would always split my cookie, right? I'd break my cookie in half and we would chat. And I knew that I got to do every day at school my two favorite things, which was talk to her and eat cookies. And so she'd come over, we'd break bread, cookie bread, we'd break bread and everything. We'd talk about all sorts of stuff. And I didn't know what it would be like to have a girlfriend, but I knew if I was gonna have a girlfriend, it would be her, right? This is who I like talking to. It's who I like spending time with. It's the only person I'll share my cookie with. And one day, I was walking to the monkey bars, get some swings in. It was good to get the shoulders working. And when I got up to those monkey bars, I wasn't right up on them. I was still at a distance, but I saw her kissing a boy. And I was distraught. I saw them kiss it. I was like, no! I didn't even think of kissing! Is that what boyfriends and girlfriends do? Hey, we little, so they not even really kissing. They more just butting heads and everything. But even so, I was torn up. I was like, no! We share cookies every day. She get my cookie crumbs all on his lips. And I didn't go up to the monkey bars. I went to the little castle that we had on the playground, and man, I cried. I was torn up, And I didn't know what to do in that moment. I didn't know how to fix the way I was feeling, and it felt like I had done something wrong, even though it was just life happening. This person was still someone who I liked very much, but I was like, no, what to kiss? Did the cookie mean nothing? I was so torn up. When we went back to class, I couldn't even learn. Teacher sitting there with a word problem. Simple word problem, trying to get me to hit that 3 + 4, and I was like, 3 kisses plus 4 kisses is one broken man. And I think it's the discussions that are arising because of the show, I think are important because whether it feels like it or not, we are all each other's responsibility. And I think that there's something happening, and it's happening to young men, it's happening to boys, where these things online, whether it's, whatever, red pill, manosphere, whatever you want to blame, there's a certain rhetoric that at least fills in some blanks and tells you this is the way that the world is, this is how you fit into the world. And it's an assuredness that the people around you don't seem to have. Because when that happened, when that kiss happened, when you're a kid, you see things in black and white. You haven't lived long enough to find nuance in between every experience. And so I didn't see that as like, oh, this is my friend, but she happens to like this person or also like this person or like this person more. I internalized all of it. I was like, no, she likes him because I'm ugly. That's gotta be what it is, right? Or she hates me and she likes him. Everything has to be very distinct. And that's tough. I think it's something that we would hopefully be better at recognizing, because it's the same thing that happens to young women. Like when I was a kid, especially when I got to be a teenager and stuff, I was angry. I had all the regular problems. It wasn't like anything extra was happening. But one time an adult sat me down that I was talking to for a long time, and they said something that stuck with me ever since, because I was just telling them how I felt about everything, felt about myself and the world and the people around me, and it all stemmed into this one question. They were like, who taught you to hate yourself? And I couldn't answer it. Because the truth is that I don't know if it's that explicit, and I don't think that it needs to be. When you're young and you're just trying to make your way through the world, I think it's a balance that gets created with the people around you and with yourself, and it's easy to tip, you know? I don't know if anyone was running up to young women specifically making sure that they felt like they were ugly. They just told them that everything that wasn't them around them was beautiful. And so then you have something very similar happening to young boys right now that's coming from all these different directions. And I don't think it should ever be a contest. I know one thing impacts another thing, and there are people that when someone is hurt, they become hurt too as a result. But I think that it's not really about who has it worse when we all have it bad. Sometimes when somebody's going through something and they're open about it, if it's not the person that we decided to band around, right? If it's like a unique person going through something and they're sharing it, sometimes the response, instead of being empathy, is almost backlash, right? They're going through something and they're being open about it, and people are responding with like, oh, boo-hoo, you'll be fine, it's all good, right? But this person is coming to you earnestly, and they're going through something, you know? Like, we don't really, if I'm being honest, we don't really talk about the like body dysmorphia that a lot of men have. There are men packed into gyms trying to look like the action figure. Meanwhile, the action figure doesn't look like a person. Like, that's not, like, your knees aren't supposed to be as big as your head. You're just never gonna get there. That's not how people are built. No one does that. No. And even more than like body dysmorphia in men, the thing that I don't think I hear anybody talking about is strength dysmorphia. I know a lot of men, good men, who have looked at a box or a pool table or a TV and thought to themselves, I can pick it up. We are losing more backs in this country to men's strength dysmorphia than anything else. Strength dysmorphia is the number one cause of hernias in men. Because then you'll try to help. You'll try to be that person, to be there for them. Be like, hey, wait until we can get some help. Don't do it by yourself. And they'll be like, you don't think I can pick it up? And you're like, it's not about me. Your knees don't think you can pick it up. Your legs don't think you can pick it up. Your back doesn't think you can pick it up. Your glutes don't think you can pick it up. One time I was on a road trip with some friends, and we heard it when the tire popped. We heard it immediately. So we pull over, right? And our friend who was driving, it's his car. He had everything ready to go. Had the spare tire, everything to change the tire, except he forgot the jack. So then our friend Jack says to us with a straight face, all right, everybody just, y'all get in position and everything, get ready to change this stuff, and I'll just pick it up and y'all change, y'all put it back down. I had questions. I was like, pick up what, change what? He was like, no, look, y'all pick it up and, you know, start changing, I'll put it back down. It may take us a couple tries, but we'll get there. There are two types of people who can pick up a car. One are strong men. And by strong men, I don't just mean men that are strong. I mean actual competitors, like strong men. All they do is train and work out and lift heavy things. They almost look like the action figure, but they're not quite there because your knees are only going to get so big, right? But they got very big shoulders, big head, everything, big arms, and they pick up boulders and they put them on top of stuff. And then sometimes they pull trucks. They have the chain and they pull, and you can see that tire moving a little bit. You're like, he is moving it. Wow. You can watch it on ESPN2. That type of man, That man right there, he'll never turn around fast, but he can pick up a car. You touch him on the shoulder, it's going to be a while before he gets to you. But he could pick up a car, okay? He will never kill a fly. He's not going to be that quick with it. But if you need a donkey murdered by punching it in the face, he can get that. It's dead. That's one of the type of people that can pick up a car. The second type of person that can pick up a car is a mother whose baby is under the car. And even in that scenario, she can pick up the car because the part of her brain, out of concern for her child, that would normally say, girl, think about your joints, has shut off. It's not like she picks up the car, gets the baby out of the way, and is fine afterward. Her ligaments are shot. But she can do it. So unless, bro, you've been doing some exercises that we haven't seen, or there's a child under the tire that you care about very much, I don't think this is going to work. And he's like, you don't think I can do it? I was like, it's not about me. Your legs don't think you can do it. Your back doesn't think you can do it. Your glutes don't think you can do it. But he wanted to try. And so everybody got out of the car. Everybody got in a position. You know, one friend was there with a spare tire. Other friend was there getting ready to start unscrewing everything. I didn't have a job, so I just stood there, you know, as a witness to record, you know. And we know that there is a way to work out. We know if you want to lift, there's a way to do it correctly. You're trying to deadlift, try to squat, you get your legs shoulder width apart. You go ahead and make sure your knees stay in line with your feet so you're not buckling one way or the other. You go ahead and put your butt out when you're trying to pick it up. You keep your back neutral, keep your core engaged and everything. You lift it up, make sure your neck is neutral and stuff. We know all of these things. This man got in the weirdest position I've ever seen in my entire life. This man got, okay, so he got under the bumper like, okay. Y'all get it? We were like, no, it didn't move, because it's a car. How long did you think you were lifting it? What world are you in? And he's like, oh, you know what? That's my bad. No, I'm doing it wrong. I'm going to turn around. Turn around. You know that lift that's famous for being much easier, where they go to the Olympics and they put the bar behind them to pick it up. You know, that thing that we've all seen before. This fool turned around, put his back to the car, like, okay. The nerve to be like, y'all ready? Y'all must have got it that time, right? And we're like, no, it didn't move because it's a car. You can feel yourself not moving it, right? And I knew he was hurt this time because he just wanted to walk off. but he was still in position. He was like, I'm done messing with y'all. Y'all not even serious. I can't believe it. Over here doing my job for me. That's right. Don't apologize. Let them think I earned those extra laughs. No, but the truth of the matter is that you have the same thing happening, you know? We kind of, I'm not saying we figured it out, but we kind of addressed it with the Barbie in theory. And there's something that's like laid out all across the internet. And it's made me think about the question that I was asked: who taught you to hate yourself? And I finally answered it in my own head. It's probably, whoever taught you to hate yourself is probably selling you something. That's all it is. We recognize it. We've learned to see it with women when it comes to makeup, when it comes to a certain fit, all that stuff. But with men, you don't see it called out in that same way. Because trust me, all these dudes, all these manosphere bros, all these red pill dudes, every single one of these guys is also selling a course. Oh, that's curious. I thought we were brothers and you wanted to help me get girls. Why are you selling me? Okay. And some of it, we have to remember, because all of these people, no matter who you're talking about, young boys, young girls, all these people are very young, they're very impressionable, and they're trying to get a sense of the world. And you can fill the lunchbox as best as possible. But one thing that's assured is that all of your best qualities will not just be passed down. I wish it was true. And you can fill that lunchbox with as many good things as possible. But it then is up to them, when they're with their friends, when they're by themselves, to actually look at what's been given to them. And not just trade it for a bunch of junk. Because now you have parents who feel like out of nowhere they're meeting a new person, a person that they didn't raise. They hear these things being said that they never taught their kid, and they're like, where did this come from? And some of it, not all of it, but a good portion of it can be blamed on being online. I think it's a mistake to just say that it's online throughout. Just go ahead and throw away the phone. Don't let the kid get on the computer or anything, because the people posting these things are real people out in the world. So those ideas are running rampant in the world anyway. But I do think that it's in how algorithms are built. You know? You show genuine curiosity for one thing, and all they're trying to do as a company is hold your attention, keep you on the platform. So they see you choose one thing, so they send you more of that thing. And so it sends you down a rabbit hole. We always blame ourselves for falling down a rabbit hole, but it is what's served to us after we just watch one thing. You know, you watch one alpaca kick somebody in the chest. And then socials are sure, they're like, this must be his favorite thing. Let's go ahead and keep running them. You know? And I'm blessed that I am who I am. I was born when I was born. I have my own problems, my own worries and everything. The hardest life you're ever going to have to live is your own, which is why I do my best not to judge anybody, because I think genuinely that if I had been born as them in a different time, I'd probably be just like them. You know, and so I truly believe that one of the it's so funny when somebody tries to start a clap, but y'all aren't like feeling it. It's like I don't say anything for claps, but every once in a while somebody feels moved to clap, but then they realize it's not like an everybody clap. Like, No. I didn't want but I didn't mind. You know, let me earn it. but the truth is that, like, when it's that easy, I think we have to look at these problems as interlinked. You know. Because people talk about incels, they talk about people who've taken the black pill, all that stuff like that. And you got to recognize truly that these like incels, whatever people end up calling them, they don't really hate women. They hate themselves. That's where all that comes from. And I can only imagine if I was a kid now and I came home and I got online and I typed in to Google or any platform, especially social, why would she eat my cookie but then kiss somebody else? I'm in for a world of trouble. I'm immediately, with one prompt, getting into some really bad stuff. Because I bet you, because the people online are not necessarily talking to anyone. They're speaking to their own experiences and broadcasting them, projecting them on other people in every situation. And so if I type that in, I'm not getting back the answer I would get from an adult that's like, hey, look, these things happen. Maybe this person knew that you liked them. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe the same thing would have happened either way. I know that's hard to hear, but there are so many people in the world. There's billions of people in the world. There are more people in the world than you can count right now because you're not great at math. That's what, to me, I'm not acting like I'm an expert. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a sociologist. I haven't met every person. I don't know what everyone is going through. But to me, that's the key. That's what solves it. When people are like, what do we do? What do we do? You just stay in each other's lives as much as possible. You know? All of this missing stuff gets filled in by the internet because we aren't there to do it. And I don't just mean parents. I mean like real community. I mean everyone that you know. Do you tell the people in your life that you know that you love them all the time? Do you never let a day go by without the people in your life knowing and feeling like they're loved by you? It just takes you. It only takes you. And so when you have something like that happen, you type it, you come home, you're crying, you're like, ooh, why was she with the cookie and the kisses? I'm not likely to get someone who's going to give me a solid answer, an answer I can take to the rest of my life. You know? I'm probably going to get somebody coming on, big old shoulders, being like, that's right, that's what women do, they take cookies. And best believe, brother, she's coming for your cookie tomorrow. And next time she won't want half, she's gonna want the whole thing. That's why you gotta shut these women down before they get your cookie. If it even gets that specific. I remember I I was in college. College was the first time that, like a lot of people, that I was out of the house, and I was really out there by myself. I had to make all new friends. It was good for me though. I had to just get acquainted with a new environment, and I had never been somewhere where it was all up to me. Go to bed whenever you want, do whatever you want, eat whatever you want, right? As long as you're getting good grades, nobody really cares. As long as you're not causing a bunch of havoc, no one's going to say anything. And I made a friend when I was in college, and we had a conversation one night that was genuinely transformative, because when someone opens up, and I'm not trying to be particular here, but it's true. When someone opens up, especially a man that's never opened up before, what happens next in that moment is crucial. It's incredibly important. Mishandling that moment almost guarantees that not only will the wall go back up, it's going to have another layer of bricks. It's going to be even harder to break down. And we just got to talking. I don't even know who shared first, but he told me things. He told me about his anxiety, depression, his feeling, his lack of purpose, all the things that he thought that he was missing in the world, and everything that he thought he was not worth, and things he thought he would never get. And it was all just like coming out so earnestly. And so then I did the same. I told him things. I told him about my anxiety, my depression. I told him about everything that I was going through, how I felt about myself, how I felt about the world, the people around me. Like nothing would really matter if I was here or not, right? And we shared for a while, and then when it was over, we realized like we were the only people we had told these things to. Everything else we expected to just take to the grave, and we had just told it to each other because there was someone there to listen. And I know sometimes it can happen where like a man opens up to you and you don't know what to do. And so I'll give you one tip. If you really don't know what to say, if things are coming at you and they're things you would have never imagined coming out of this man's mouth, just hit him with a word. It won't fix everything, but it's a good placeholder. Because as men, sometimes word is all we really need. We're like, yep, you get it. See, you get it. But truly, we shared a lot, and in that moment, we didn't know what to do, so we just hugged it out. And don't get me wrong, it was a manly hug. You know, we tightened our arms around each other and we hit the pats. That's how you hug as a man. You go ahead with the. Watch the end of Top Gun Maverick. Both those men ready to cry, and they still do. I don't know what to do, so I gotta hit it. And it was a long hug because, once again, these are things we thought we would never be able to tell anybody else, and we're holding on to each other tight, and we're patting each other back hard. And I'm not proud of it. But eventually, I did burp. And what happens in the moment that a man opens up to you and you open up to another man is crucial. When I burped, I was like, no. I'm never opening up again, okay? What I look like? I just poured my soul out and I got burped by my boy? Never. No, we not on that. But I genuinely believe from the bottom of my heart, for every person, no matter how you feel, and some of that feeling is going to be advertisements shooting at you. Oh, you'll just be whole when you have this, when you get this. Someone trying to sell you something, trying to make you feel less so then you can be at least level after they give you their thing. But truly, I hope everyone can really hear this and understand this. If you are in the world, you know, I remember when it was told to me for the first time, it also stuck with me. if you're part of the world, you must be worth the world. And I hope that everybody can feel that way, that you're really worth the world, because you're here. And I think about it because there's a whole new generation of people coming up. They're dealing with something we've never had to deal with before. Like I think of Squish's kid. I was very nervous when Squish became a father because he has dropped everything I've ever seen him hold. He's one of the clumsiest mans. It's insane. But he is kind, and he is generous, and he has a good heart. And it'll be a better world if Squish's kid is like him. I hope that that's possible. I hope he can turn out just like his dad. It'll be a better world. It'll be a more haphazard world. Like it'll be a different type of dangerous, but
please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
One thing that is very fun about being in Pittsburgh is your sort of singleness in fandom. The way that you love the Steelers, right? The way that you, yeah. And I saw this story about a woman whose husband sadly passed, and to commemorate him, she kept his Steelers tattoo. I'm glad we're on the same page. Because initially when I saw it, I was like, yeah, no, kept the Steelers tattoo and it's like in a little, and then in the article, she was like, yes, we kept the tattoo. No, we don't think it's weird. And I was like, I figured you didn't think it was weird. Seems like it was your idea. That would be wild if you were sitting there holding the plaque like, I can't believe they let us do this. This is... little odd, right? And look, I don't know. Wow. Like when I saw it, I was like, because also, look, I'm not going to linger on it too long, but it was a big tattoo, so I don't even know what that is. That back? Is that arm? Is that, you know what I mean? And maybe this is something that the husband would have loved. Maybe he's like, yeah, keep it, put it in the living room, right? I don't know. I also don't know how hauntings work, but I imagine I do imagine having some of my skin means I'm gonna stop by. If anybody ever kept some of my neck, I think I'd be like, we have to have a discussion. Poltergeist or not, I'm coming over, we're talking about it. You know, you already have to be careful in people's houses because you never know who got the urn on the mantle or something like that. I don't know why they don't sell urns with like a lock on it. Every urn I've ever come across just been ready to be opened like a cup of sugar. We gotta start making urns harder to spill. You know what I mean? I've been at people's houses where they got, whether it's like a family member or the pet, they got the urn on like a mantle or a bookshelf, and I'm like, that's a little high. If it falls, they will be everywhere. And it does sort of, I don't know. It does taint the memory a little bit if this urn fall and now you gotta Dyson him up. And then put him back in a new urn with whatever was on the carpet. Just something to think about, baby. Literally, just even McDonald's cups are harder to spill. Just something with a twist lock, something. Because let's be honest, unless you spread the ashes, you never need the ashes. You know? It's not like you hiding something in the ashes and then you're gonna open up the urn, pull out the Glock. Like that'd be a wild home invasion. That'd be imagine you're, let's say somebody, goodness forbid, but let's say somebody broke in your house or something like that, and then they've got you and the family held hostage, and maybe you did something to them. Maybe you're a healthcare CEO, right? And so then they got you tied up with your family and everything, and it's like, look, I'm sorry, all right? And they're like, sorry is not enough, you about to go. It's like, okay. All right, I get that, but okay, look. A long time ago, my wife passed, and I always said that, like, whenever I go, I'd like to go with her, and she's right there. Intruder gonna be like, over there? Yeah, she's on the fourth shelf up next to Great Expectations. If I could just like hold her, I'll just, small kindness, let me hold her while you bow. The intruder's like, okay, go ahead. Go get her. Thanks, honey. No, it's wild. Because now that mantle it's like in a frame, and I guess they're gonna put it on the wall. That seemed just as precarious as any urn. Imagine you having a house party and somebody bumped the frame, it fall. Now you getting yelled at. You knocked over Daddy. Everybody does things differently, and some people very differently. But once again, I don't know. I don't know if he would have loved this sort of thing, you know? But it'd be crazy to think he might be looking down like, ugh. But in case he loves this sort of thing, and in case he can hear us on 3, I'd love all of you to join me in a Go Steelers. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Hopefully that will stop me from being haunted. In my life, I've had a lot of roommates, and it's funny because, like, I don't know, I've talked about this before, but like, roommates is like extra family because you're poor. You don't exactly bunk up with a stranger because things are going well. Every roommate I've ever had has been out of necessity. And you just gotta get used to it. But it's crazy because people, the way that people are roommates is usually a clue into how they lived before, like how they were raised potentially. Maybe they were raised to act differently than they're acting as roommates, and this is them out on their own for the first time, rebelling against all these rules they had at home when they were, you know, younger. That's the most charitable way to put it. Like, I think mostly a lot of people are insane. And there's nothing like having like a messy or lunatic roommate, and then maybe you do become friends though. Maybe you're friends, maybe you're friendly. And then you go visit them at their house and you see that it's pretty much the same. This person is wild through and through. I had a roommate that, there would be some nights where he would sleep in the bathtub. He had a bed, he had a mattress, he had pillows. But he said he would sleep in the bathtub because it felt more normal to him when he would wake up from a night terror. And I was like, I don't know how you find that out. That means this man had night terrors and tried every room before he went tub. And that was a tough roommate to have because, you know, I would go to bed at a regular time, you know, even a little late because, you know, we're young and everything. We're in college, and then I would just know I can't go to the bathroom for the rest of the night. No, I can't. I'm gonna have to hold it until he wakes up. And what would normally be distressing, you know, sleeping peacefully and then hearing from the bathroom, ah! is only made a relief, because then I know, okay, he's up, I can go. lot of people in America worry about terrorism. This is a top concern for some people, and it just depends, mostly, to me at least, on when you were born, you know? And I think that within this understanding of terrorism, there are many different definitions, you know? One definition is someone who stokes fear and anxiety for the purpose of fear and anxiety in their enemies. And there's a lot of talk of terrorism or potential terrorism. People get called terrorists all the time, and there are some people that want to equate terrorism to one specific group, one specific religion. But I know that there are terrorists, but the terrorists that I'm talking about, they have no religion. The terrorists that I'm talking about, the terrorists that I believe already live in the U.S., they don't have some God that they call to for their purpose of doing what they do. They just do it to stoke fear and anxiety. I'm talking about people who put an empty box of cereal back on the shelf. These people have no place in our society, all right? I had a roommate. Last straw for me was this man. I had bought some Cheerios, and I bought it for the group. We all eating out here. And so then I go to grab the Cheerios, and I'm excited, I'm hungry. And I go to grab the Cheerios, and there's a certain feeling. Anyone who's been a victim of what I'm talking about will know the feeling. It is a weightlessness of despair. You go to grab what you think might even be a half-full box of cereal, and in your attempt to grab it, you put too much energy, too much force into your shoulder, into your arm, into your hand. And when you put that force into your shoulder and your arm and your hand, and you grab the box of cereal and you go to lift it up, you hit the top of the cabinet. Because there's nothing in there. And not only is there nothing in there, what's been left is crumbs. And the sound of crumbs is the jingle bells of poverty, all right? I've never felt poorer than when I hear crumbs. Hearing crumbs is right out of Oliver Twist. Crumbs is what Charles Dickens wrote all his best work to. I didn't even think I could hear crumbs. Oh, but they have a sound. It's a mix between bread particles bouncing off each other and then a whisper. It's in a moment. It's something that almost can't be identified. And it's the whisper of those crumbs, the same way that you could split atoms or you could collide particles and make an entire boom, a bang, a nuclear bomb, and a hydrogen bomb. The banging together of these bread particles makes one singular noise, and it is the universe telling you from a point of almost quantum physics, bouncing the particles off each other, that you're poor. That's the sound of poor. Wouldn't you love to say yum? You'll never say it. You're too poor. These are crumbs. If you've ever in your life, out of necessity, not out of deliciousness, had to pour crumbs into your mouth, in the Bible do I imagine this level of thirst for food. You might as well be in the desert. Even if you are in your Pittsburgh apartment, you might as well be in the desert if you are opening your mouth, letting it hang while an entire bag while a bag of crumbs slides and floats to your mouth. Because the crumbs that are sliding into your mouth from this bag, they have no Christianity. These crumbs are there to embarrass you. They're there to make you look and feel poor while you pour them into your mouth. Maybe that's where we get the word poor from. And maybe that's where we get the other word poor from, because you have to pour these into your mouth while you feel like the poorest person that has ever lived. And the bag is stiff because it's that hard, semi-soft plastic that they only make cereal bags out of. And because of that, it's got a lot of ridges. It's got a lot of things that the crumbs can slide and get caught up on, you know? It's a lot like when you try to get water to a new place and the water is working its way through the canyon, but it doesn't know where to go yet. It's being pushed by the other water. And this gravity that's pulling down the crumbs to your mouth has the crumbs rushing at you from all angles. Even when you try to pinch the bag, you try to pinch the bag to give yourself some dignity. You try to pinch it and straighten it up to make a funnel for your mouth, because this is all you have. Crumbs is all you have. Crumbs is your life. And so you make it as straight as possible. You slide it down. Only when you are making a paper plane do you have this level of intent as you straighten something out. You straighten it out as much as possible, and then you dip it into your mouth, and still the ridges find a way, because the devil is busy. Oh, the devil is hard at work trying to make you look and feel poor, even if you're alone in the room. You pour the crumbs, they're rushing from all angles, skiing down the plastic to your mouth. But then something happens. You don't know if it's in the middle of the bag or it's at the very edge, because some bags, depending on what cereal you get, have smooth tops and some have ridged tops, okay? That's going to be important, because if it's a smooth top, the crumbs will slide out. If there's ridges right at the top, that means that the crumbs have one last giddy up before they get to your mouth. And so then not only do they giddy up, but you are looking for the food. You'd at least like to see what you're eating. And so you're looking down the bag, and the crumbs are like, we can go anywhere. We could go in your mouth, we could go up your nose, but we love to go in your eyes. And so then you're standing there with crumbs in your mouth and in your eyes and down your face and down your shirt, because as soon as they got in your eyes, they stung, because crumbs are sharp. You might as well juggle knives over your open eyes. You know what that feels like? To be You know what that feels like, to have to dig Cinnamon Toast Crunch out your eyes? Every cereal sharp. Every cereal is sharp. And so I remember I was a victim of terrorism. And I took my crumbs like a man. But then I confronted my roommate. I said, hey. I know what you did. You know what you did. I don't know why you did it. I feel like I've been very respectful. I feel like we have a good rapport. I don't know why you would engage in such a vicious attack against my Saturday. And he was like, what? I was like, you know what? Because he did know what. Because without me saying anything else, he was like, look. I put it back, but there was some in there. And I said, some crumbs? He's like, no. There was Cheerios in there. And then I thought, okay, maybe I've made a mistake. Maybe I have accused the wrong roommate, because I have more than one. And so then I walked to the kitchen with him, because the bag and the box were laying on the ground, because I obviously had to run to the bathroom and wash my eyes out of the very sharp cereal. And at this time, first of all, I need to go back. This is the second time this had happened. All right. And so first time was Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and then the next time it was Cheerios. That's my mistake. And so then he was like, there was some in there, and then we walk over, and the bag and the box are strewn on the floor like a crime scene. Because I had to drop them immediately. I also got Cheerio in my eye. And I was like, there was nothing. And you know there was nothing because it was only crumbs. And now the crumbs are in me and on me. And then he's like, no, there was something left. I was like, what left? And he was like, there was one Cheerio. And I was like, now I know. You might as well be Osama bin Laden, because the fact that there was one Cheerio you chose to not eat and leave means you're out of your mind. And then I looked, and sure enough, there was one Cheerio on the ground. One Cheerio. A single Cheerio. Like a British person saying goodbye. Obviously, I didn't kill him. I'm here with you now, but I thought about it. I struggled a lot, growing up, even into like early adulthood, with an opinion of myself, with like body image and everything. It's very difficult sometimes for any young person to believe, if they don't already believe, that they are lovable or that they are good in just the way that they are. Basically, that they are enough. You're still working on yourself. There's still things you want to do with your life. You got your whole life ahead of you, but there's nothing extra you have to do to be worth anything, And it's a hard thing to convince someone of who doesn't believe it. I wish more people believed it. If you saw yourself the way that the people that love you see you, what a beautiful world that would be, And it's not as if love isn't poured into and on these people, showered with praise when something goes right. Not everyone gets it, but even for the people that do, they still struggle with body image, they still struggle with confidence. And then for the people who should have people that they look up to, maybe not giving them any of that, either being indifferent to them or actively hurting their confidence. Sometimes even when you have those positive forces in your life, you still don't accept it in a way that would help boost your confidence. You're like, she loves me, but that's like my mom. She biased. And I know for me, I spent a ton of time trying to work on myself in different ways. Some things that I actually needed, some things that built me up, and some things that were maybe a little bit unnecessary, you know? I really struggled to look at myself in any positive way until I got really fit. Like in my head, really, really fit. I should look like, I saw other guys and I thought I should look like that. I should look like a version of that, at least, you know? And never mind that I'm looking at dudes who have been on their own journey or struggle with their own confidence, or maybe get a little extra help to look the way that they look. I don't know. And I was never trying to be like insanely huge. I joke about being like ripped and real big, but honestly, I don't have the frame for it. Truly, I'm not tall enough to be wide. Yeah, I mean, no matter how big my shoulders got, I'd start to just be in the way. Like, it looks good in the picture when you're flexing and you've got all the muscles and they're all defined and everything, but then practically in life, it does start to be a problem when you're trying to walk through a door. You don't want to be on a date and see a door and go, uh-oh. How do we handle this? You know, because the shoulders, the hips, they're all wide and muscular, but that door frame, oof, making all of them standard. I can't believe they're doing this. And then you're holding hands, you get to the door, and you're like, you first. You look like you being a gentleman, you know. Please go ahead. And then she walks through the door with ease, and you now have to figure something out. You're standing on the opposite side of the door, and you're like, oh, okay. As soon as you strained, you let her know this isn't going to be the life for her. I never wanted to be huge. I just wanted to be very, very fit, you know? And I worked on it with some success, with less success, but even when I started to work out, I realized that wasn't really the issue. Now I was going to the gym, and I was eating as much as possible, and I was gaining a little bit of weight. Not much. And I was like fighting to keep looking this certain way. And I finally accepted that, like, even if I got there, maybe I wouldn't be happy. And I even discovered that through other people who I knew were there. People who I wanted to look like that were in my life, you know? And they still had all the same problems I did. And I would go to the gym and I'd see people packed in there fighting to look a certain way so they could feel a certain way. And there is a bit of a cheat code. You could try to work on feeling the way without having to fully change your entire body. You know, you don't have to earn loving yourself through like straining and potentially hurting yourself, you know? Like there's some things that there's some things that go would be lifted in therapy, you know? Like it's just and but I remember I would see these workouts, and sometimes you see people get creative. There are a couple machines that are pretty straightforward. You sit down, you want to row, you put your feet here, and you pull pull. And that's the exercise right here. This is just what you do, and you do it for your back. You know, you work a little biceps in there too, and maybe if you're trying to work more of the back, you can lean forward a little, lean back a little with the pull. You know, I saw a guy sit down like normal, and then put his feet in. And I'm not gonna lie, I stopped. I was like, this is about to be awesome. And this man, I don't know what muscle it works out. It seems like it just ruins your joints, but he went, just make sure it's clear. And it looked like it felt like it sounded. This man did 8 sets of 10. And I watched the whole thing. Oh, there was even a time where I went to the gym and, you know, I was working out my legs differently. You know, I was doing some lunges, I was doing some like split squats and everything. Not much weight, but just trying to make sure that I worked out my legs, because there are some people that in all that self-consciousness and all of that wanting to build up for yourself, your body and your image, they still only work on the glamour muscles. They forget the base. They forget their core sometimes, and they definitely forget their legs. And we've been told since we were children that the legs are important. We've been told in many different ways. We've been told by PE teachers. We've been told by coaches. We've been told by parents. We've been told by cartoons. There's an entire cartoon dedicated to people who skip leg day. Johnny Bravo was trying to warn us for our entire childhood how important leg day is. That's not a structure you want. You don't want to have more hair than... So I was working out my legs, and so I'm packed into this gym with a bunch of other people, which is, look, it's very frustrating because this gym was unfortunately affordable. So a lot of people were in there, you know, and I was one of them. And I was hopeful, you know, sometimes they sell memberships all year and they're counting on people not to go. The way the gym structures are built out, it's so that you get all of these people here, but they're signed up, they don't actually show up. And so a gym is able to run fairly efficiently as long as like 1/10 of the people who are members show up at a time. If everybody showed up that was a member of the gym, if everybody started to really decide to work on themselves, it would look a lot like TSA. Be very little movement. The only way to work out would be passing the weights, just you can have some. And while I was in the gym, packed in there with everybody else, there was a fire alarm that went off and some smoke that we saw. And, you know, I didn't see any fire, but 2 out of 3 signs isn't bad. And so there were only 2 exits, which in retrospect was a horrible thing. Like you could only get out through the elevator, which you're not going to take during a fire, or the stairs. And so people started clamoring for the stairs. And this is where the real fitness test began. Because there were some people that were out in a flash, but then there were other people who had been working out, so they used all their fire running strength on the treadmill. So now they see that the fire alarm is going off and there's smoke, and they hop off the treadmill and they're like, oh no. And then there were other people, what I would assume people who were a bit out of their mind, that even treated the running out of the gym like a workout. There was one lady literally still looking at her watch going, and then there was me, who had been doing leg day. Tried to make my way out as fast as I could, but honestly, if I could brag on myself for a second, I had gone pretty hard. You know, I had a PR and everything, and a PR is what you don't want to have when it's time to run. Because I put the weight down, I saw everybody running out, and I made my way for the exit, and I could not stop jiggling. Like yeah, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you have to evacuate for a fire, but nobody moves like there's a fire. Even as you're going downstairs to like get out of the building that has smoke in it that is like clearly, at least seemingly on fire, you still get people that do that thing that people do when they get to the top of the stairs, where now that they're clear, they just enjoy their day. If you've ever been in a walkway, there are people who can't wait. At the beginning of the stairs, they can't wait to get up there. And then as soon as they get up there, as soon as they are past the last step, they're like, oh, yes. As if there's not a ton of people behind them. And so I'm noticing, as I'm shaking and jiggling down the steps, how slow people are going down the steps. And so people do start to scream like, hey, hurry, move it, you know, fire. And then we get outside, and it was next to the door. One of the reasons everybody was slowing up was that same lady was out front near the door just like next to the door. Just run, like you still got the rest of the world to run. What are you waiting for? If you're waiting for your gym buddy, you left him. You left him to die. It's funny because I was watching the news and I saw this, can't really call it a debate, it was more of a screaming match. But it was on CNN. And on CNN, okay. Found the one person that works at CNN. That's man, I've never heard anybody clap for CNN like that. Yeah. Why is that? Now, to be fair, though, look. To be fair, we don't know where our friend is from, and CNN abroad is actually substantially better. Like, when you watch CNN and you're in like France or something, it is actually like engaging programming. That we really are the only ones that do CNN the way we do CNN. As an example, when you travel the world, McDonald's is still fast food. We're the only ones that made it poison. You know, every other country, they just say what happened on the news. They just tell you. They're like, oh yeah, no, then these people came, and then the other people came, and then the first people left, and then the second group of people left. It's really mostly in the US where you watch news and it's like, chaos in the streets! Like every news segment is cutting a promo for a horror movie. I was watching CNN and I saw where Jillian Michaels was on there in a debate that she seemed to have started, and they were talking about changes to the Smithsonian and how art and culture shifts between who has the power to dictate how the exhibits are written, who the exhibits are of, and everything. And Jillian Michaels was like, it's so unfair that slavery in this country only gets blamed on one race. Look, as outrageous as that is genuinely funny. Like, look, I'm not gonna tell anybody how to feel, but if you heard the words I said, that Jillian said, and you immediately got angry, I would ask you to take a step back. I'm not going to tell you how to feel. You can be angry if you want to be angry, because it is a very short-sighted, ignorant thing to say, but that's precisely why it's so funny. It is absolutely hilarious. But the best way I can describe why this is funny is when I was a kid, I would be at home alone for about 3 hours. I would get off, from school. I would do practice, and then I would get home and I'd be alone for about 3 hours, right? So for 3 hours, I was the only person in the house. And one day, I was just walking through the house. I was eating something. I think I was like eating some Easy Mac and walking, not paying attention where I was going. And I knocked over this vase. And it was a vase that my mom loved, right? And so it smashes on the ground. And I genuinely didn't know what to do, because I was like, man, I'm going to be in a huge amount of trouble. I need to think of something. And in my head, I was like, what should I do? Should I call my mom now and be like, hey, when you get home, you will want to beat me. But I feel like if I tell you now and you're going to be like on shift for another half hour, and then just the concern, because I never call you, I'm hoping the concern that you have that I am calling you you'll be so relieved that I'm alive, that I'm not dead, you'll want to kill me less. You know, because having that coworker be like, it's your son, you know what I mean? And then have you be like, oh, what, my baby? And then I tell you what I'm about to tell you, and then you're like, oh, I'm just so glad you're still with us that I would hate to make it so you were not, right? That was one thought. Then the other thought was, look, I've given this whole having a family thing a good run. Maybe I dip right now. Maybe I leave home right now. And then the third thing, which is what I did do, was was nothing. I went to my room and played some video games for what felt like might be the last time in a long time. And then my mom got home. I remember all the noises of her getting home. I remember the like screen door, and then the lock, and then the lock turning, and then the deadbolt turning, and then her walking in, the screen door shutting behind her, her shutting the door, her locking the door and the deadbolt. Again, every footstep from the front door to the kitchen, because she missed it at first. And then every footstep after the kitchen back into the living room where I heard my name. And not my name the way you know it, my full legal name. You know what they put on your death certificate or before a parent kills you? My full legal name. And then I walk in and my mom is like, "What happened? What is this?" And then I said, "Oh, you just gonna blame it on me?" Wow. Maybe I was in there playing video games the entire time. Maybe somebody broke it, and left. Maybe I'm lucky to be alive right now. You're just gonna immediately blame me because I was the only one here. You're just gonna blame me because it looks like it was me. And that's kind of what Jillian Michaels was doing with the whole, like... Yeah, that's kind of what she was doing. Can't believe you would just blame it on one race of people. And it's so funny too, because when it comes to history like that, there are always these bad actors that try to pull the thinnest straw man out of the woodwork. You know, there'll always be that person. There was a guy, I don't actually remember his name, and this is before slavery in the U.S. was more based on race and before more people were shipped to the U.S. There was a dude that I've read about that apparently was of African descent, and he came over and he had about 2 or 3 slaves, and one of those slaves was seemingly of the Caucasian persuasion. And whether this thing is true or a myth, I've heard it my entire life when referencing slavery, that there was one black guy who had a white slave. And I'm like, look, even if that's true, that's not what it's known for. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Just picking and choosing how you present an entire idea. And it makes sense to me that someone like Jillian Michaels would say something like this. She is from a reality TV show. She's known for the show The Biggest Loser. Yeah, that's who she is, that coach from The Biggest Loser. You know, the nice one. The Biggest Loser was a show, I don't think it's still on the air anymore, so if you're not familiar with the show, it was a show where they would bring on people who were overweight, struggling with image and everything, and they would help them lose weight by making them do slavery.
When I I can. Be that when I can.